What is up, college football fans? What is up, Clemson Tiger fans? Happy Sunday to everybody. You guys know what I say. Every day above ground is a great day as far as I'm concerned, and every day is a great day to be a Clemson Tiger. Speaking of being above ground, rest in peace to our buddy, the legend, the one, the only, Big Ball Daddy. There's going to be two parts to this video. First thing we'll do is talk a little bit about the Clemson and Citadel game. There's not a whole lot to talk about when you play the Citadel, but there's a couple things in there I would like to highlight about yesterday's game. And then, boy, yesterday might be the craziest college football weekend that I've ever seen, as far as how it implications for the postseason and even conference championship games. So we'll talk about that, where Clemson fits into that, because believe it or not, they went from having a very, very low chance of possibly backdooring their way into the playoffs with a Miami loss and an ACC championship victory, to there's multiple ways they can get into playoffs now because of all the teams that lost to unranked teams yesterday and basically shot themselves in the foot and pushed themselves out of the playoffs. So anyway, we'll talk about that too. Clemson, obviously a rout over the Citadel. Citadel runs the triple option. So if I'm trying to find something to nitpick about here, first of all, congratulations to Moffitt. He got over 1,000 yards and it took him out of the game. I think he only carried the ball 3 times. But of course, Klubnik had a big day. They played everybody on the roster, basically. But the thing that everybody's complaining about, and rightfully so, was giving up the Citadel's largest rushing game of the year. Now, keep in mind, they play in the FCS. Even FCS defenses are doing a better job of shutting down Citadel's running game than Clemson. Am I surprised? No. They've been giving up a lot of yards on the ground all year. And against the triple option team, albeit an FCS team, if you're not used to seeing that, it doesn't surprise me, okay? What does surprise me, though, is that when you play against an FCS team that runs the option, and you're still giving up big chunk pass plays to wide open receivers. They're not even a passing team. So, look, it is what it is. They got a chance to rest a lot of the guys that are banged up. That's key going into next week. We got a chance to see what's behind Phil Maffa a little bit more. And it was great to see Haynes go out there and play the way he plays. He had 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. I think he averaged like 25 yards a carry. And again, it's the Citadel. So you don't learn a whole lot out of that. Playing against Citadel's defense is a lot different than playing against anybody who's going to be in the playoffs, and certainly South Carolina next week. But what you do get to see, doesn't matter who you're playing against, you get to see, like, what is he made of? How does he run? What's his running style? Is he fast? Well, he checks all those boxes. He's got the speed, he's got the agility, he's got the athleticism, and it looks to me as if he's got the vision to run. So that begs the question, why haven't we seen him more this season? Now, Garrett Riley even addressed this past week when talking about the guys behind Moffitt. He said, yeah, we probably should have given them some more touches throughout the season, but it's hard to take number 7 off the field. In other words, we felt like we had a best chance in these close games with Phil Moffitt. Okay, fine. But just like if you guys were watching me last year, you saw me complain a lot about Will Shipley and Phil Maffa, the 2-back set. They hardly ever did a 2-back set. First of all, it was the Will Shipley show. Maffa only carried the ball like 7 times a game or something the past couple years when Shipley was there. But every once in a while, they would do this 2-back set where you'd have both Maffa and Shipley on the field at the same time. Almost every time they did that, it was successful. Now, the problem was they hardly ever did it. I couldn't figure out why. So if you have that thunder and lightning type punch, why not utilize it? And it appears as if we've had that guy, the complement to Moffa's thunder, the entire season, and have not chose to utilize it at all. Now, again, before you start typing in the comment section, Pete, you're not at practice, you're not a coach, you don't know what you're talking about, you're just an armchair quarterback. Fine, whatever. I have an opinion. And you're right, I don't know. Maybe the guy, is a terrible blocker. Maybe, he just wasn't ready to run until this week. I don't know. He's played a few snaps throughout the season, but nothing meaningful. Question is, Will we see him in a two-back set formation or two against South Carolina? Because I think we might need this guy against South Carolina. I don't know if Phil Moff is 100% or if he's going to be 100% by the time next Saturday rolls around. But what I do know is that he's played several weeks with a nagging injury. So hopefully he gets to be 100%. But anyway, my point is we may need more than just Moffa in the backfield if we're going to try to find a way to beat South Carolina. All right, so that's pretty much it for the Clemson Citadel game. As Clemson sits right now, a week ago, they might have had, I don't know, a 20% chance or less of getting in the playoffs somehow. Well, that's all changed. It's not just changed for Clemson. Guess who else it's changed for? South Carolina. It's unbelievable. Ole Miss eliminates themselves. Well, A&M isn't technically eliminated because they can still beat Texas and make it to the SEC championship. If they win that, they get in. But for all intents and purposes, A&M probably killed their playoff hopes for the most part by losing on the road at Auburn. Obviously, Ole Miss, I mentioned them. Alabama falling to a 5-win Oklahoma team, not just falling, getting blown out. That probably eliminated them from a playoff discussion. So what that does, Colorado loses to a 5-win team. Boy, if you came into yesterday with a losing record, you had a very good chance of beating a highly ranked team because a bunch of them did it. But anyway, what that means is that opens up the door for a lot of these other teams for at-large bids, including Clemson, including South Carolina. It's most likely. Now, there's still some crazy stuff, I guess, that could happen this weekend. And believe me, this has been a crazy season. Anything can happen. It's most likely a playoff play-in game this weekend in Clemson, South Carolina. That's right. Because one of those teams, well, they're both going to be close to 12 ranking after this final ranking this week anyway. And then if they beat a top 15 team, because both teams are going to be in the top 15, that's going to catapult them up inside the top 12, no matter what. So, yeah, this is the playoff game, most likely, in Clemson. Now, look, there's 3 different scenarios that can happen here, and really only 3 that matter. Scenario number 1, South Carolina beats Clemson. So Clemson now has 3 losses. But Miami loses to Syracuse. That puts Clemson in the ACC championship game against SMU. If they beat SMU, even with 3 losses, they get into the playoffs, automatic bid. Scenario number 2, Clemson beats South Carolina, but Miami does take care of Syracuse. In this scenario, Miami and SMU play for the ACC championship. Clemson gets in the playoffs anyway as a top 12 team at large bid. That's 2 different scenarios where Clemson can get in there. Scenario number 3, South Carolina beats Clemson, Miami beats Syracuse, and Clemson punches its ticket to the Gator Bowl to play Colorado or BYU or somebody like that. There's your 3 scenarios. So it doesn't matter whether you or me or anybody else thinks that Clemson is a quote-unquote playoff team. It's a numbers game. And the fact that, well, both Clemson and South Carolina should be happy that the other team is ranked high. When I say ranked high, top 15. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have a chance to make it in the playoffs. Can you imagine a scenario where South Carolina with 3 losses gets in the playoffs? It's very possible. It's very possible. I can't figure out for the life of me why Clemson is favored in this game. Look, I've been transparent. It's one thing to do trash talking about your rival or any other team. It's pretty obvious, I think, whenever I'm doing trash talking or trolling or whatever. But I've already said I think that South Carolina is going to win this game. Of course, I don't want them to. I hope Clemson goes in there and beats them 50-3 and embarrasses them and runs them off the field. That's what I hope. But I've been watching football all season. And my mind and my eyeballs tell me that South Carolina is playing more a well-rounded football than Clemson right now. So Clemson's a 3.5-point favorite. Vegas is going to give you 3 points just for being the home team. So Vegas thinks this is about a pick 'em. And I do think the game will be close. Whichever way the ball bounces, no pun intended, whether South Carolina wins or Clemson wins, I do think this will be a hard-fought game, goes deep into the fourth quarter, and somebody will win close to the end there. And hopefully it's the Tigers. But yeah, it's been a crazy season. I've never been so happy to be wrong about something in my entire life. I was wrong. I was one of the people, and some of you might have been too, I was one of the people that thought there was a very good chance that a 12-team playoff would diminish some of the regular season games late in the season and some of the conference championship games. It doesn't appear, at least not this year, as if that's the case. It appears as if, how fun was yesterday? You can't get much more fun than what yesterday was. Well, unless you're Alabama, Ole Miss, Colorado, or Texas A&M. But how fun was it? So, is there a chance it could diminish some of the conference championship games because you can still get in? Like I just mentioned about Clemson. Clemson could possibly finish in the top 12, but not even play in the ACC championship game. That's possible. So does that diminish the championship game? Maybe. But we've seen, even with the 4-team playoff, we've seen guys or teams that didn't make their conference championship get in the playoffs. So that hasn't really changed anyway. So anyway, it's going to be a great week. It's hate week. Let me know in the comment section what you think about yesterday and all the scenarios I just laid out for you as far as the playoffs concerned. There's still a lot that has to happen. But that's just one of the few scenarios that could happen. All right, everybody. Check you later.